All right, everybody. This is, I could call it Coach Chat. It sounds fancy, but I spoke to a few folks who were asking me to do some Q&A, so I'm going to do some Q&A live on FaceTime, hopefully every Thursday at 11:30 to 11:45. Put a new mask on to give yourself a fun look. I don't want to put a fun mask on. FaceTime live. All right. So recognizing this will be recorded, I'm actually just going to jump right in and post it. So I got a couple questions in advance to get the ball rolling. One of them was, as a coach, what's one thing I would say that I would love to tell myself 20 years ago when I started coaching to help him do better coaching. And you know what? In some ways, I would say just do the exact same thing I did, which was coach and coach some more. And I coached anybody that I could get my hands on. There was sort of an idea that if it breathed, I would coach it. I don't recommend that completely, because you want to coach people who are actually coachable and who want the coaching. But there's a lot to be said about just coaching people who really, really want to be grown and want to learn. Because if you start just coaching people who just breathe, you're going to start feeling the weight of having to carry them and do a lot of their work for them. And unfortunately, what happens to coaches is if you're coaching people who really don't want to grow and want to learn and want to be pressed beyond their boundaries, is it starts to become really heavy. As I said, you start doing your work, doing their work. And when you start doing their work, it just starts getting so hard. And when coaching gets hard, you start thinking that it is coaching, and it has nothing to do with the people that you particularly are coaching, but it's really about the quality of person you've chosen to do this work with. And so the best thing you can do is find really great people who are really hungry to learn and be grown. Okay, long answer for probably a very simple response required, but I'm going to go on to another question that's come in here. The youngest client I've ever worked with. Well, I'm working with somebody right now who's 13, a 13-year-old young man, and that is by far the youngest. Prior to that, it was a 19-year-old man, and before that was a 21-year-old man. Old man, it's kind of a weird combination when you say 21. And really the challenge with that is, there's a level of responsibility, a level of maturity there. It sort of reminds me of, working in a corporation where you have the client who you're actually coaching. You've got the customer as the person who's paying. In the case of, my case here, working with a 13-year-old, it's the parents. And then, of course, you've got the coach. Within an organization, you've got the corporation that's paying, that you've got to, have a dialogue with, like the parents, to make sure you're on the same page. You're working on what the parents want, as well as working on what the client, the 13-year-old in this case, wants to work on. So it's sort of a challenge in that there are some things to balance, but it works. It certainly works with a properly designed and a conscious relationship. So, hey, Seema's on, my old pal. Hey, all right. I'm on for I got about 10 more minutes, so I'm going to keep pounding through a few more questions here. Let's see. What else? Favorite one-on-one coaching moment? Oh, my gosh. Well, it probably wasn't a moment that, it wouldn't be it was a fireworks moment for sure, but the one that always sticks out for me whenever I think about highlights was, I'll just never forget it. She was in her parking garage of her building, and we'd been doing some coaching, and she was waiting to get verification that she'd gotten a, golly, I'm forgetting it now. Was it like a degree of some kind, or she had passed a particular test? And I can't believe the details are leaving me right now. But she had a couple doctorates already. She was a PhD multiple times, and she absolutely wanted to get verification that she had passed this exam or this certification of sorts. And I kept saying, listen, you've got to do your work, right? I mean, you've done your work. You've done your work up until this point. Let it stand. The whole work has been who you are. You've developed that, you're set, you're rock, and everything else. If you're putting so much stock in, waiting for someone else to honor you with another set of letters, you're actually missing it here, baby. And she just kept screaming, I need the letters. I want this. I worked for it. And it really had been a conversation that had culminated over months. And I have never raised my voice, yelled so loudly at somebody. And we were yelling back and forth. And finally she broke down and as I recall, started crying because she recognized that her whole life had been in pursuit of validation by someone else saying, you're good enough, you're a doctor, you're good enough, here's these letters, here's this certificate, here's this letter of appreciation, here's this medal. And she was a very, very accomplished woman, but she wanted the next high of recognition and accomplishment in order to feel good and satisfied and whole. So that was definitely a highlight moment. Let's see. Holy moly, what else? That was a story. Let's see. Hey, Jennifer's here. All right, cool. I'm answering questions. Let me answer another question that's come in. Oops. Okay, my idea about coaching certification. Feel free to ask questions, but another question that just came in was about, do I believe that there should be stricter regulations on coaching? Hell no. Because to me, whenever governments get involved in things, it gets more expensive, less effective, more cumbersome. And, it's the old adage of too many cooks in the kitchen. Let the International Coach Federation does a good job of helping us to define what coaching is. And I know there's other professional coach organizations. There's some really great coaching schools out there that do a good job of defining what coaching is. And God bless the free enterprise system that lets us, develop ourselves to be the very best we can at helping people be great in the world. And then let the customer choose, who can really help them do a great job. My fear is if government gets involved and defines coach and goes about the business of defining coaching, you're going to end up, if you're a coach, you're going to end up paying a lot of money to be part of, to help finance, be taxed, financed, to be recognized as this. You're going to have ongoing credentials. By whom that says that you're a good coach? Who are these people? How long have they been coaching? And really, who can describe what really makes for an effective, intimate relationship between two people designed to help the one person get what they want out of their lives, to help them become the very best that they can possibly be. And if I think Washington, D.C., or Brussels in the case of Europe, or New York City in the case of the United Nations, if they had to get involved and define what good coaching was, I think we'd end up with a train wreck. So damn the day that coaching is regulated by any civil authority. All right, there's my 2 cents on that. I could go on a lot longer about that, but I don't think anybody really wants to hear. Let's see. So coach training companies. I'm most intimate with CTI, the Coaches Training Institute, which is a fantastic organization. It's one of the first 2 coaching companies. It's the ethics, a lot of the skills developed by Karen, Laura, and Henry, the founders of CTI, are what really make up the basis of the International Coaches Federation understanding of skills, context, come-froms, if you will, as well as ethics. I'm a little familiar with Coach University and some Coachville. There's some other companies that I know little bits and pieces of. But I think what's been really said powerfully by another person, and though I've never been able to credit them as I don't know who they are, they described Coach University. It's basically two schools of thought in coaching, the doing and the being. So doing, action-oriented coaching, fantastic stuff. We need that. And then, of course, there's a being orientation to coaching as well. We need that. And I've heard this person who said these words, I think it's really profound, was that Coach University, or that philosophy, the doing of coaching, is the science of coaching. Important, vital, necessary in varying seasons of our life. And that CTI, or schools that are similar, are called the art of coaching, which involves much more of developing the human being as well as being in action. Now, I think there's dangers to, if you focus only on becoming and being and who you are and all that, we can fall into the dangerous path of navel gazing and just becoming, and we're always spontaneous about what the client wants to talk about in this moment and that moment and that moment. Even on any given call, we can run into just zigzagging all over our lives and not maintaining a strict focus on what we actually want to accomplish or what the client actually came to accomplish in the coaching. So that doesn't work. The other thing is if you're focused on just doing an action, you step over what's going on for the client in a given moment, which certainly doesn't work. And so obviously there's a balance in there for us to work as coaches. I'm looking at our time. A few more minutes. Any questions out there? Type them in. Otherwise, I'll throw a Shannon and Kim. Hey guys. Any questions? Throw them in. Otherwise, I'll just jump on to another question that some had written in advance. All right, I'll answer a question that hasn't been asked, but I think is, it's been asked to me at other times that I think is important, is what influences me in my continual growth as a coach? And, I've actually thought recently, I'll say again, I already said earlier in the video, but for those live, I've been coaching for 20 years, and, I've been steeped in certain philosophies of coaching, and that's cool, that's great. And for a while I thought, I know what coaching is. I don't need to, go beyond and start doing other work in other schools. But I've thought recently, I might actually go through some portions of other schools' curriculum, or at least take some other classes from some other perspectives. I think that'll certainly be expanding. But what I've done to expand myself and grow myself as a coach is I've studied a lot of philosophy, a lot of world history, a lot of religion, and understanding people in general, and I'll get out of the light there, and the cyclical nature of human history, and our need for something transcendental. And I think as you study those types of things, and you don't need to study those things in particular, but as you study the things that really turn you on and light you up and help you understand your own self and your own process and your own, capacity to be a tyrant as well as your own capacity to be a saint, that's when you get to be able to know others and be able to work with others more effectively. So, all right, let me see any questions coming in. Hey, Bo's over there, my buddy from, now in England. How you doing, pal? All right, I'm going to be on for another about 2 minutes. What other questions you got coming up here, folks? Otherwise, I'm going to bail. Give me a reason to stay. Joni, all right. I'm just saying hi to all my friends on this video. Let's see. All right, one more question here. Adding coaching to the education system. Well, you know what? When I've got more time on my hands, which I don't really have right now, sufficient time, I'm going to, wait, great to hear what you think about this. Okay, cool. I'm going to run out of time on that. I'll hit that another time. Education, coaching and education. I think, obviously our education system needs an overhaul, and I don't think it means more money. As far as, I'm going to set the camera down on my computer here. When America started dumping tons and tons of money into the education system in the 50s, our education, we were number 1 around the world in everything. And since then, we have just crashed and burned, and we're like number 7 here, 17 in that subject. We're all over the place. It's a mess. So I don't think it's more money that any of us need to put into the system, but it's more deliberate consideration of really what is education and what's required. And these things, actually, there's a book called The Hard Truth About Soft Skills. I saw it on my wife's bookshelf. I've not read it, but I'd love to take a look at it, because really the soft skills, which are human skills, which, so much of which are coaching skills, my gosh, couldn't our 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 17-year-old, kids and young men and women really benefit from learning those things and having that be a typical part of I'd say a liberal education at the youngest ages. So I think that'd be fantastic. I'd love to have a greater conversation with folks around what they think and how we can influence the education system with coaching. So, all right, everybody, I'm out of here, but I'll be back next Thursday, I think. Let me just check my calendar. I'm sliding you across the computer. I think I'm back next Thursday. See you all at 11:30 for more coach talk and Q&A. So send your questions to me. You can send them to me on the Facebook page. You can private message me or just post them, as well as you can email me at rr@ronrenaud.com, and I'll address those next week.